Hi everyone, this is Suzanne Wagner and welcome to the Numerology for 2020, which happens to be the number 4. Now I'm going to break a whole bunch of things up into videos so they're individual little videos. The first one that you're seeing right now is actually going to be about the numerology for the year 2020, but then I'm going to do an intuitive patterns for the month of January in 2020. Then I'm going to do the astrology, which is a humdinger for January 2020. And then I'm going to do predictions for the year of 2020. So kind of know there's going to be 4 videos and you can kind of play with them as you go along. So we're going to start with the numerology because it's honestly the simplest. But this is not simple astrology this round, even if we think it might be. So we just finished a number 3 year. So if you add 2019 together, you get a 12, which is a 3. And so we're now going to the next year, which is a 4. So if you add 2020, it becomes the number 4. And it is the reminder to cultivate harmony at all costs. And those costs are probably going to be high. I have discovered for myself that when I'm in a personal number 4 year, now I do have a 4 in my yogic numerological grid, but which magnifies it a little bit. But when I'm in a number 4 year, I often feel out of sorts, out of balance, out of alignment with the greater flows in life and nature. And it's often that, it's so out of balance that you really notice it. You're like, wow, I have got to really get myself back to my own center, back to myself. That kind of discord can be exhausting to navigate. And finally, like me, you will get so frustrated that you will decide to stop, cut back, regroup, reprioritize, and take a good, hard, and honest look at what is working and what isn't. It is in that moment when things will begin to change. You cannot stand to stay in a past pattern another minute. And that's when everything will finally shift, and often it will shift quite radically. Sometimes it's precipitated by an event that is that final straw, or a moment that becomes a line in the sand that you will no longer tolerate. Regardless, there is going to be a breaking point, and that is necessary to find your way back to balance. This particular year, I find myself looking at the 2 and the 0 that repeat, then wanting to kind of break them apart. In numbers, the zeros will magnify the number in front of them, just as when you do numbers normally, the number 10 is 10 times the number 1. Therefore, the zeros in 2020 will not just singly magnify the number 2, but it will doubly magnify the energy of the number 2. Personally, that's a little scary to me. The number 2 is all about negative mind and critical mind, and that is exactly what we're seeing in the external world. Negativity is magnifying and presently is 10 times larger than ever before. Those that hate are feeding on the fears that are being given out in the media and inflaming the minds, the number 2 again, of those that are intent to see things from a critical, terrible point of view. And this is universal. I'm not just speaking about our country. I mean, you just have to look anywhere out there, and there's a rising up of anger and hatred to those that intend to oppress, lie, manipulate, and push others down. I believe that this year will be the beginning of a massive breaking point, the likes of which none of us have seen in our lifetime. So be really careful and observe with a detached but open awareness of all things out there that are intentionally trying to polarize humanity more and more. Governments and countries do that and go too far are going to cause an eruption of emotion that they will probably not be able to control. So all you have to do is, look at, Paris, today. So I'm doing this on the 19th of December. Look at Venezuela. Look at what's happening in Afghanistan. I mean, just take a look pretty much anywhere and you're going to see this. So the number 4 is all about the compromise that needs to happen, but that clearly is not happening at this time. The number 2 makes you realize that people of power are going to break the backs of the poor, and they have no intention of helping humanity or this world in any way. So then, what is dangerous is that the people will have nothing left to lose. That is where radical rebellions happen and violence can ensue. Take a look at how your mind is either twisting things and making stresses more stressful, or looking with a very clear and discerning eye to the facts that that are there for everyone to see. Learn critical thinking, but do not be critical of others. Learn to allow others to make their own mistakes and know that you cannot save others from the lessons they need to learn. The mind is supposed to be a slave to the soul, not the other way around. This year, seek out truth. Truths are universal. You can never own truth. Truth is bigger than you. It is part of the universal laws that rule this reality. So this year, number one, cultivate that harmony and balance. Number two, really look at your critical mind, your negative mind, the place where you want to put other people down, where you want to blame others, where you want to point that out, and recognize that there is a force behind that too that is being cultivated by the media and what's going on and your own unresolved issues, and that it will tend to magnify it so that you can actually see it. But it will also magnify it in the world. So I want everybody to have a really calm, cool, clear head, but I really know that is not going to happen. I absolutely am 100% certain that's not going to happen. But I figure if I can cultivate a few people to stay as neutral as possible and recognize that the world right now is a train, and that train is absolutely going off the rails. And it probably needs to go off the rails in order for us to have a massive checkpoint and for us to really come back to what's really critical and important in the world. So maybe it's a good thing this way. All I know is that it will be a big year. So one of the things that I say about numerology is I say odd years are odd and even years are even. But in this year, because it is an even year, I'm going to say the even year that we are trying to have is going to point out everything that is not even Steven, everything that is not fair, everything that is not just. You're going to suddenly notice the imbalances instead of the balances. Okay, so hopefully that's one layer and it'll help, and I will see you in a minute.